Your shower looks really confusing.
No, it is. But it's kind of convenient. It's just like a pole, you know?
Yeah, we can stop.
And use pole.
Yeah, oh, you pull?
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought it was kind of weird when I first moved in. But yes, hello. We're here with Hannah Savage, who is our curator extraordinaire on the show, and also exhibiting some artwork. So, welcome to my shower.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I know I'm taking some cinematography tips about, how do you perceive intimacy and friendship, and I thought an interview in the shower together would be
Nothing
perfect.
would be better.
Yeah. friend shower.
Friend shower.
Yeah. Alright, but no, let's talk about the show. So really, the thing with this show, I think it was different than our last one, was since we had Fabian moving to Gloucester, we couldn't have him working on the curating the whole time, so we brought you in. And yeah, talk about the idea of the show and kind of where you pulled it out from.
Yeah, so I guess basically what I was thinking of for the show is thinking about time. I think it's something that time is one of those themes that people don't really think about, or they do, but they don't really there's not tons of, people talk about time in a very objective way rather than kind of as something that's a physical thing. I feel like time is something that's so physical. It's something that we're constantly experiencing and constantly in contact with, but we never really talk about it. It's kind of
it's
abstract.
The idea that everyone kind of has some sort of understanding on, but then I feel like it's hard to talk about with some people because, everyone just is on different planets.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people talk about the past and the future and the present as all people have all these truisms and kind of cliches. So I thought it would be interesting for us to kind of explore the idea of time through it's such a personal thing. You have people, everyone experiences time differently, and everyone has different ideas about time. There's tons of different philosophies on time, and the flattening of time and everything like that. But I think that the main thing is I was really interested to see how, if we gave this theme of time to artists, how they would kind of show it through their own work, because it is so broad. So it's interesting in having a broad theme, because I really wanted it to be an artist-centric, artist-forward show. So I want people to make work for, I don't want them to have to necessarily prescribe to a certain idea that I've laid out for them. I want them to be able to adapt, or I can adapt to make their work fit into our show.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that's been one of the most fun things about watching you curate the show is the way you interact with the artists. And I feel like putting a show together, there's this idea of that you have to be 100% aligned, everyone has to be on the same page, but watching how you talk to the artists, you really are advocating for their ideas within your concept rather than your concept within their ideas. I think all of the people we've brought in, whether, it's Marcus's slides or Hannah's light boxes or Yassin's photography or Chris's wonderful little shelves, the little 3D, I love them. But I think it all fits in the show quite well naturally. Nothing feels very forced about it, and I think they're all interacting with time in such different ways.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an interesting concept come to life.
Yeah, I think it's also one of those things that I feel like it's more conceptual, I think it's more interesting when people can draw their own conclusions from you can write wall text and you can explain and kind of feed people ideas, but I think if you give them a broad sense of theme and then lay out kind of all these unique artists which we have found with different types of, different mediums, different perspectives, different things about time that they're using in their work, I think it's really special that people can come in and look at it and kind of use their own sense of how they relate to time to interact with the art, and I think that just makes for a really interesting show.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm gonna do a water check real quick.
Water check?
Yeah.
We're locked, we're loaded.
We're loaded. Okay. Nice. But back to the show. I think also the space.
Yeah, the space is definitely. I'm super excited about the space. I think like we both kind of decided like a homey type of hang. Like
Yeah.
I think like I think it's especially if you're kind of working with a lot of 2D work, which I feel like we are in some sense. I think it's nice for like a space to feel homey, and I think like having a show about a concept of like time, and you think about time a lot in different elements. For me, I feel like time is something that like you can feel a lot of comfort in, but also like a lot of like discomfort in.
Oh yeah, I mean time is the source of most of our anxieties in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think like having kind of like a homey element, and that we found this like abandoned house, it kind of like it's kind of also in itself like time has interacted with this space.
Yeah.
And now it's like you think about it, and it's like walking into the space, you're like, how many people used to live here? Like, how many people have lived in this house?
I was talking with Marcus, just the fact that we're doing in Peckham, I think is a great example of that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I think like that kind of encapsulates time, at least in London.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think like, the abandonment, and like how you'll see how time has like interacted with this like physical element, like a house,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna all have kind of like work in there. So I think like the space is like pretty key to the curation as well. Like I think finding that space was really important.
Yeah, shout out Fabian.
Thanks, Fabian.
We love you. But yeah, no, let's talk about you. So obviously you're British, right?
Yeah, I'm super British.
No, we all it's your favorite masshole.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a Massachusetts girl.
No, it's been fun. I feel like we've been very American with each other.
We have. It's been a bit overwhelming, I think, for everyone else.
Poor Marcus, I feel like he stares at us with like the Northern England, like I don't know what the hell you're
He's
talking
like, yeah. Love you, Marcus.
We love Marcus. Yeah, but I think it's been fun kind of doing our style of show. Like I think one of the things about us is like we're definitely like very like up and at 'em about it, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah, like we I don't know, some might call us anal.
Maybe.
But I think it's good because then I don't know, that's always like your biggest fears when you come to like the opening day. Like, is everything
everything here?
Yeah, is everything set up and like.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's been good. But so talk about the Boston. What's I think I asked Hannah what her favorite place is, and where did she? I forgot where she said she went. Just not Southampton, Bournemouth. So tell me your 3 favorite things about Boston.
I thought you were talking about me, and I was like,
other Hannah.
I was like, what? I was like, what? I was like, bored. I was like, I didn't go to school there. Oh, okay. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. It's like
What was the question?
top 3 facts about Boston.
Top 3 facts. Oh wow. I don't know. That's a big question.
I'll tell you my favorite fact about you in Boston.
Okay,
is
tell
you
me.
used to work at an ice cream shop.
I did. I used to work
Yeah.
in an ice cream shop, and I served Steve Carell ice cream one time.
Yeah, I was like, that's sick.
Yeah.
Like, that's my dream. Working in an ice cream shop, they
Yeah.
wouldn't let me in after like 3 weeks.
See, I don't really
would
like
be-
ice cream.
I would, whoa.
I
like,
know.
always wanted to be like a Baskin Robbins guy.
Yeah, no, it was JJ's Dairy Hut. It was on the side of the road.
Nice.
It was like a little shack for work there. It was great.
Good vibes.
It was hot. It was really hot in the summertime. Yeah, and I served Steve Carell ice cream, which that was pretty cool.
Did he, what was he like?
He got a.
Was he cool?
He's very nice. He doesn't like to be like recognized. Though.
Yeah, I was about to say, he
Yeah.
seems very laid back.
He's laid back. He's chilled. He's super nice. Super nice. What else? What else are some Boston tidbits we got for
I
me?
got so many Boston tidbits. What's
Little
it?
tidbits.
You were the movie The Town was based off your family, right?
Yeah, I watched that last night. Actually, Ben Affleck is my uncle. Me and Ben Affleck are.
Yeah, I used to go to Harvard, and then like
And then I solved this.
I was just picking up math problems.
Yeah, how I ended up here actually was just like I solved a math problem on the board of Harvard.
Yeah.
And then this guy just like found me and like was like, "Oh, you're a genius," and that's how I ended up in London. Actually.
No, that makes sense.
That's my origin story.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, our actual origin story is we went to the same master's program together.
That is.
Yeah.
Different program.
Different
the
program.
Same uni.
Yes.
Holding strong.
We were always hanging out.
Yeah.
Good vibes.
You sat in front of me and navigating the art world, and you always projected and asked a lot of questions.
No, that is my big thing. Is I talk louder than the average British person, without a doubt. Like by decibels, I would say.
Yeah. Louder than like most people, I think.
Yeah.
You project.
If I need it out, that's from being a lifeguard. I feel like.
Walk!
I'd give him like, I would yell at him like it was a WWE wrestler. I'd be like, walk!
Get the whistle. You didn't even need it. They didn't give you a whistle.
No, they
you
did,
just like
bro.
projected much.
I did the classic like lifeguard thing where you flick it around your finger.
Oh yeah, that's good.
You just like look cool on sand.
Yeah, that is cool.
Little do they know I was like a hungover 16-year-old.
Little do they know.
They probably knew.
I know, I always feel like we always thought we were being really sly when you were like younger and like hungover at work.
Yeah, no, never.
Everybody knew.
Yeah, no, I mean, to this day, sometimes when I'm hungover. I remember in uni, Lewis used to make fun of me because he would see me eating like sushi at 11 a.m.
That's when you know you're going through it.
Yeah, this guy's tired.
Yeah, he's sleepy. Yeah, I would just be like drinking a lot of Diet Coke. Slamming DCs from the vending machine when I was hungover.
That's good.
Like shaking.
Yeah.
Picking it up.
Yeah, no, I feel like, okay, well, what's your favorite hangover treat then?
My favorite hangover treat is probably either a Coke or an appetizer.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what they don't have here is they're not a big Powerade country.
They only have Powerade. They don't have Gatorade.
Oh, Gatorade. That's what I meant. Yeah, sorry.
A light blue Gatorade.
Oh, yeah.
That sorts me out every time.
Whoa. Maybe that'll be our next exhibition.
Light blue Gatorade.
Light blue Gatorade.
Petition to bring it here.
That's our band name.
Yeah, Light blue Gatorade.
That would be good.
Light blue Gatorade Collective. It's called like Arctic Frost or something.
Yeah, no. Cool Berry Blue.
Cool Berry Blue Collective.
Okay, so then I know at least one of this answer, but who are your top 3 artists, and how do you think that they have inspired the work you're doing in this show?
Okay, so obviously my first is Mike Nelson. I love Mike Nelson. I adore everything that Mike Nelson does. I really like how he like uses the industrial like in his work, and also I think like him using like he uses like a lot of found objects and like producing like large scale installations. So I definitely think that like he's obviously like such a big inspiration for me, and with like this altar that I'm like building for our show, it's all like of like found wood. Like you know, I've been running around the streets.
She's been finding timber out here. Yeah.
I was London, city of free timber. I just have to figure I found all these pallets and now I'm just trying to take them all apart. So but I think kind of like that like industrial like mixed with like kind of the like the installation and kind of like using the space as like also to like create your art, what I mean?
No, absolutely.
I think it's as much about the space as it is about the object, I guess.
Yeah, and then like I think putting it in this space I think is like cool, because I think that whole trope of found objects usually relies on like an institutional setting but like I think in this setting it feels very like goes along with, it's very homely, like it's it's very like warm and inviting, and less like I feel like when you have it in a space like a white cube or something, like, it seems so much more bizarre than like I think it almost humanizes it in this setting.
Yeah, definitely. And then another person, Theaster Gates. I love Theaster Gates.
Nice.
He's done a lot of work in like abandoned spaces in like the south side of Chicago. So he's done a lot of work kind of to create like films and things in those spaces, and he does like a lot of like community-based work, which I think is like really interesting. He kind of like uses these abandoned spaces to like bring attention to, you know, the lack of like government funding and support for people in these like really, you know, poor
and I think
areas.
He talks about like the sanctity of a space a lot too in his
Yeah.
artwork, which I think is like really cool how he uses that abandoned style to
Exactly.
do that.
Like him and his like exploration of space has definitely been like a big inspiration to me, and kind of like he uses a lot of like religious elements in his work, and I think that's kind of like, I mean, although, you know, my parents are both come from like deeply Irish Catholic, like devout, you know, religious, but they aren't very religious, but I was still kind of raised around a lot of religion, and I think that definitely plays into like a lot of how I explore things in my practice, and I definitely draw a lot of inspiration, especially from like the aesthetics of Catholicism.
Yeah, no, like you definitely put like a spotlight on your work.
Yeah.
I think that I'm waiting for one artist that you haven't said yet that I was thinking you're gonna say, and it's Doris.
Oh, Doris Salcedo,
I
yes,
thought you were gonna
of
go
course.
hard on Doris.
Okay, yeah, obviously Doris Salcedo, yes, I was like, actually, like, I was racking my brain because there's like so many people that I like, you know, like, I was like, because you were like, I think I already know, and I was like, I talk so much about artists here, like, I was like, Wolfgang Tillman, Sarah Lucas, like, who will it be,
Jeff Koons.
No. Yeah, Doris Salcedo. I adore Doris Salcedo's work. I think that she is like her sculptures are like some of the most like profoundly beautiful objects that, you know, I've ever like seen. And I think like her idea of like collective memory is also something that, like, you know, is kind of what I'm trying to do in my work, because I'm trying to like think about, you know, this altar is kind of like, you know, to my mother, but I'm also kind of thinking about how like my relationship with my mother has changed through time, how it will change through time, and how kind of like I've always, you know, like you've always been a part like of like your mother and then like your grandmother, you know, because of like how like women's bodies function. And I think it's like interesting because, you know, I think that exploring relationship like with my mother, I think like mother-daughter relationships are very complex, but I think they're very like beautiful and tormented, and you know, they have a lot of depth to them, and I think that that's something that's really interesting and hard to capture in like one piece of work. But I think it's like, you know, I am trying to take elements from like my mother's upbringing, elements from my upbringing that kind of like come together to make this like memory, and, you know, just kind of make this piece like for her and to her, but in a way it's also for like, you know, me and my sense of self, and like my sense of, you know, like she's someone who's probably been like you know, she's the foremost woman in my life, like, and it's just, you know, kind of making this piece has been very cathartic in a way, like thinking about what to put. And I think there's like lots of like little details about it, like little pieces of painting that I'm doing that have been like really interesting. And as I think more and more about the piece and try to develop the piece, I think I remember more and more things
about your experience. Yeah.
And I think showing that is interesting because kind of like in, you know, Doris Salcedo's work, where she takes this kind of like hard industrial material, like she uses concrete, but then she has really soft elements, like she uses, you know, people who have like been murdered by the government, like she takes their clothes and like puts that in there. And I think like I'm kind of trying to, you know, form that juxtaposition by using like these really like industrial sharp materials, but then I have like, you know, soft objects that, you know, kind of, it's kind of like this like juxtaposition between like the hard and the soft, and that like creates like an interesting dynamic. And I think I draw like a lot from Doris's work.
Yeah, like you're having a conversation with the materiality.
Definitely. And I think like, you know, like Doris Salcedo obviously uses a lot of like home furniture. She uses furniture to make her work, and I think that, you know, it's interesting because an altar is something that I've encountered so many times in my life, but I've never actually like, you know, made one or something. And then also
it's like something it's like so ubiquitous around the world too.
Yeah,
it's not
it's
like
like
a purely Western idea. It's
And I think people have like altars in their homes in a lot of different ways. Like, you know, you have pictures of your family, like you have different, I think it like, you know, takes a lot of different things. So kind of drawing that element of like hominess into my own work is something that I think that, you know, adds elements where I also draw inspiration from her as well, is like, you know, this idea of home and this sense of like the objects that belong in your home kind of make the feeling of home. Like, you know, you create a space, and I think that's another reason why space is so important. Like, I think a lot of people see Doris Salcedo's work and it's so evocative and emotional because you can relate to the objects that you see in front of you.
Yeah, no, it's like you're not seeing the whole image, and it's just like what painters use, but she's doing it in like a sculptural format where you hide stuff and let like your brain make up the other half. What's your top altar in the world then? Like, if you could name the best altar.
Oh, that's interesting, because I think there's just like so many different forms of altars. I think it's also hard for me to say because I'm not like a very deeply religious person. I remember when we went to Documenta, there were so many altars. They like made this altar of like,
was it like triptychs?
Pills. Of pills.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was cool. It was about like I can't remember the artist's name, but yeah, I think like an altar is kind of like to me it's, you know, strikes me as a broader term, I guess. Like, to me, I think an altar can be a lot of different things. Like, you know, it can be like a triptych of paintings. Like,
you know my favorite altar is? Amsterdam. Eighth wonder of the world. That's what they called it. That's an altar if I've ever heard it. Altar to baseball, you know?
Yeah, like, I think you can, like, really argue that, like, anything that, like, moves you in a certain way can kind of be considered an altar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's something that's interesting. I mean, I think, you know, I've stood in front of like Francis Bacon triptychs and felt like that was like a type of altar, you know. Like, I think it's like, you know, things have meaning because we prescribe meaning to them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes like whenever you travel, like I go see stuff I think is fascinating, but I have no fucking clue what it is.
Yeah.
It'll literally be like maybe like something on like the side of the road in like Bon Air in the Caribbean. I'm like, who knows? Like, you know, but like it's cool. You know? And I think that's like what an altar is. It's supposed to capture you into like a time and place.
Yeah.
For like, if only like a fleeting second, but like.
I think they're a lot about like commemoration as well. Like, you know, I think altars are mainly used so that you go somewhere and you think about something or someone or a cause or something, you know, and I think that's something that I think you could argue. That's why I think you can argue that lots of things could be considered altars. Like, it's kind of all just, like, subjective, you know?
Yeah.
In a way. It's definitely more complex than that, and, you know, I'm not trying to, like, flatten the idea of these, like, religious... Like, they are obviously essentially, like most of them are, like, religious, and I don't want to, like, take that away, but I think I'm just kind of exploring the idea of, like, you know, using the form of an altar to kind of, like, express things that have been... you know, important and significant to me.
Yeah.
And things that I find, like, complex. Because, like, as much as I'm not a religious person, I, like, lack that element of my life. There's other things in my life that I feel like, you know, deserve recognition and this kind of, like, you know, this, like, you know, it's just kind of, like a tribute, you know, like, building something for something that's important to me and something that's like really, you know, impactful on me, you know.
I could go on like a whole nother tangent right now about how I think the stuff we build for people today is stupid as shit. Like every statue, every like monument sucks. Nothing's cool. Like I want something cool. You know what I mean?
You should make like, T-shirts that say every monument sucks.
Yeah, every monument sucks. Yeah, I think the only cool ones they do for like is war, but like. They obviously have to like put some time and effort to it. But like, you know, there's no more statue. Like I like in England, there's like a statue of like some guy with like a fucking mustache. Like, what did mustache do? He's just like a cool guy in the town. They made the statue.
Yeah.
He's like, thanks for like making our libraries better. Like,
libraries are sick.
We gotta do stuff like that more often. Libraries when people pass away, like you gotta. I don't know. I'm an advocate for bring back statues, not of Civil War. Not of Confederate generals
not that.
Per se, but
definitely not that.
I'm just saying, you got to bring back like cool stuff. Like we need more like monuments to like a dog that did like a paper route. You know what I mean? Like, that's stuff that we should inspire more of.
I think it's like something that you can like. I think that, you know, you take everyday things for granted.
Yeah.
And I think something about it is that you know, like through this experience, I think it's been very like, as I've been working on it, it's been like quite cathartic for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that I am kind of enriching and learning more about myself and more about my relationships with everyone, like how I relate
Life,
to people,
yeah,
like how
existence.
like it's just been something that I felt has been extremely, extremely powerful, and kind of just like, as I've been like doing this transition from painting into sculpture, like kind of making objects and like, you know, trying to do more like installation, like larger scale installations. I think like the act of physically building as well is like very cathartic for me.
Oh yeah, no, same. Like I love that when I refinished that table that one time.
Yeah.
It was literally just the stupidest. I was bored for 3 days.
Yeah.
I was like, but like something about it, just like the whole process is like, it puts like value back into things that you don't have like value in. Like, and I think that's like a thing in London that happens a lot, especially when you come here and it's like you don't even own furniture. It's just like your landlord's furniture. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's like you start. I like that step of like everything has more value, the more it's personal, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think just like exploring, like, I mean, like objecthood has just been something that's been really interesting to me. So like, kind of, you know, exploring like what an object means, like how can an object convey meaning, how can an object, you know, represent things. And I think that's been something that's been really interesting with like also curating.
Yeah.
I've kind of been like, because, you know, as I'm making this work, it's kind of interesting because I'm kind of like fighting with myself and my own ideas, kind of, you know, but I find myself like challenging even my own ideas of, you know, the theme of the show, and kind of like I'm still kind of exploring like what, you know, it all means, I guess, and like how, you know, how it's changed for me over this process, like while I create like these pieces that I'm gonna put in the show.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I was about to say when I first started doing the shows, I think like the hardest thing for me is balancing out like personal taste rather than like things that, like personal taste and exploring creativity.
Yeah.
Because I think there's like a fine line of becoming a narcissist where you're just
Definitely.
like only what I want to do.
Yeah,
like,
and you don't want it to look like shit. Like, and then you're like, you know, you're like.
And then you're like, oh, it's all my idea. Like, yeah, I fucking blew it on this one.
Yeah, like really bad, really bad. I know, because now it's kind of like I'm only gonna let down like myself.
Yeah.
And you.
Well.
And Fabian. But I think like it's been interesting because it's just like, you know, I've never actually like curated a show and made work for it simultaneously, so that's been kind of like a fun exploration for me. Yeah. It's new, I guess. It's interesting to have like an idea that's I made up, because then sometimes I'm working on my piece, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll put this in there, and I'm like, oh, my stupid idea. Yeah, like, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
I guess, no, there's a great talk about the curating and kind of your creative process, a little background about you. So thank you for stopping by.
Stopping by the shower.
I guess we can end it on, maybe I'll give you like a fun question to end it on.
Yeah, give me a fun one. Go ahead.
What's like...
Give me a fun question.
What's like your ideal Sunday?
My ideal Sunday, this is a good one. So, it's autumn.
Oh yeah.
It has to be autumn.
Yeah.
Okay. So my ideal Sunday is I wake up, it's autumn, I make coffee in my house. I always drink hot coffee, I make it in my house. Then I go, and it's like sunny outside, but still crisp.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like you can wear a light jacket.
Yeah. Or maybe like a little cold, like a little bundle, but not so I'm gonna be like freezing.
Yeah, a little, just one where you go.
Yeah. And then I want to go on like a long walk through like, you know, like ideally a wooded area to go, because foliage, I love foliage. I'm a New England girl. True. I love some fall foliage. So I want to go see some, you know, some leaves, and then I'd like to like go and maybe sit in public and people watch. I love to people watch. Maybe do a little journaling, do a little sketching. Go home, read a book, watch Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Good.
My comfort fall movie.
Yeah, no, we love it.
My comfort autumn movie. And then go to bed.
Nice. Good
It sounds like my Oh, maybe have like a drink in the evening.
Yeah,
a nice
well,
cocktail.
Yeah, maybe like a warm one.
Yeah,
Just
like a hot toddy.
Yeah,
Or like an old-fashioned.
A hot toddy sounds so
Yeah,
good.
that'd be so good.
I was like,
Yeah.
my perfect Sunday, especially if it's in the autumn, is to drink and watch football from like 11 a.m. to
Yeah.
9.
But I also live a rainy Sunday where I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, I think
I like when it rains and I don't have to go anywhere and then I can just like sit in my house and be cozy.
My
I
favorite-
also enjoy that.
I love a summer Sunday. Because
Ooh, a
like
summer Sunday.
I just lie out in the sun and read books. I
like
literally
a lizard.
very much so. Yeah,
A
like
lizard that can read.
yeah, like